Tracing the Rails on YouTube and Rewind TV is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't discovered it, you are going to after watching this interview. I was lucky enough to sit down on Zoom with Chris Kirk, the director and the writer, also Louise Kirk-Partridge, the producer and the researcher, Stephen Cranford, the presenter, Mike Jaimes, the transport historian and presenter, and Catherine Pope, the production supervisor. So what is Tracing the Rails all about? Well, Tracing the Rails follows the story of the Stenning line, which closed in 1966. But along the way, there's little fragments to tell its story, and it's absolutely fascinating. I can't get over how well made this programme is. The research, the attention to detail that goes into each episode, meticulously researched. I tell you what, you are in for an absolute treat. Get a brew. If you've got a Tracing the Rails mug, even better, as you'll see. You're going to see some clips from the show. But main thing after this is to search Tracing the Rails on YouTube or on Rewind TV as well. So let's get the interview going. So right now, I'm absolutely delighted to bring you this special interview. I tell you, I've never seen so many people on Zoom all at once. But I've really got into Tracing the Rails, and Tracing the Rails is available to watch on Rewind TV and also on YouTube, and more on that in just a moment. So we'll go around the Zoom window, if you like. Please introduce yourselves. Let's start, I guess, with the wonderful background of the steam locomotive in the background. Who have we got?
So I'm Chris. I'm the director of the project.
And I'm Lou. I am the producer of the project.
Hello, you two. And down we've got down at the bottom to my bottom left, we've got Mike and Catherine. Hi, Mike and Catherine.
Hi, Chris. How you doing? So yeah, I'm Mike. I am the co-presenter of Tracing the Rails.
And I'm Catherine, and I'm production supervisor.
And on we've got on audio as well. I'm delighted to have the presenter of Tracing the Rails. We've got Stephen Cranford. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Chris. Thank you very much for having us.
Oh, no, delighted to have you as well. Thank you, Stephen. I guess, do you know what? I'm going to say at the start, how did the idea for the series come about? I guess we'll start with Chris and Lou, shall we?
Yeah.
The idea for the series.
Yes. That's mostly down to Lou, actually.
So I shall tell the story then. So Chris and Mike and Stephen have made film, TV stuff for years and years and years, but life took over and they all ended up doing different kind of day jobs and things. And Chris and I are married, in case you didn't realise. Chris spent quite a few years complaining that he wasn't being creative and he wasn't making films and he was going to work and earning the money and so on. So I got tired of listening to it and said to him, well, let's just do something. For God's sake, let's just do something. So I put my thinking cap on and thought, let's just start really local with something that we're really into, which is our local disused railway line, which we used for walking, cycling, walking the dog. It's just really close to the village, and it's a haven for escaping into the countryside. So we said, let's make a documentary about that. It will be about old railways, it will be about history, which we're passionate about. It will be a little bit of actual railway stuff, because we both like steam locos and so on. And it will be about discovering things, adventure, finding bits and pieces, remnants of the past, whilst getting outside and getting fresh air and exercise.
Normal blokes having a midlife crisis just get a sports car, but we didn't do that.
So it's supposed to be quite a little thing involving not too much, and maybe a Sunday afternoon kind of jaunt out to the downslink. And then we started doing it and realised that I was not destined for TV presentership. So I said to Chris, why don't you ask Stephen, see if he would be up for maybe joining the project, thinking he's a very busy man, he'll probably say no.
Steve's doing too many things. He won't be free, but
he said yes. So we went out, the three of us, and it was just lovely. So the mission then was to get out, do all of that, but also maybe have a nice lunch as well, have the benefit of each other's company, doing something that we all love. And very quickly we thought, wouldn't it be great to have a co-presenter who's a transport historian?
Well, just you're skipping a stage. We did this was really with just the intent to do something creative and fun. and we put it on YouTube, thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we get a couple of hundred views or something? That'd be quite exciting. And we got 60,000 views. So we thought, there's something in this. Perhaps we ought to think about doing something a bit more serious and do a proper episode and see what happens. And then we onboarded Mike, and through Mike we already knew Catherine, but all of us having had backgrounds of some kind in some form of entertainment, be it theatre or TV, etc. So it was great to get all our talents together.
Yes, the small team of 5 was assembled, and the main mission is, of course, to make the documentary, but it's also to enjoy each other's company and get out, and there's always a lunch. Sometimes there's a bacon sandwich in the morning as well.
I suppose, Stephen, over to you then, because I tell you what, when I was watching episode 1, I was just saying earlier before we started recording, it's one of those shows that you don't want to kind of binge watch, and you want to savor it, and it's just such a really enjoyable show, Stephen, and I think your presenting style brings that to it. It must have been great fun doing this.
Oh, absolutely it was. Yes, I was very happy to be asked to do this. I've worked as a BBC radio broadcaster for nearly 25 years, so mainly I talk for my job, but it's nice to do it in pictures as well. I do a fair bit of TV, but not that much by comparison. So to have the opportunity to actually front this show was wonderful, because I love railways and I love history as well, and it was just great fun to do this. As Chris and Louise will endorse, they initially gave me scripts, but I'm not very good with scripts. I prefer stories. So we've adapted it now to, here are the bullet points, put it into your own words, because I can never do the same thing twice, which the editing department of Chris and Lou absolutely hates as well. But I love doing this. And one of the lovely thing is, we've met so many incredible people that the episodes originally were only anticipated to be about 25 minutes long per station, 6 stations along the line, 6 little mini episodes. Perhaps even we might be able to squeeze them into half an hour or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But we were absolutely bombarded with contributions from the community, mainly through things like Facebook. And suddenly we had this avalanche of, I've got these pictures, I've got these films, I've got these memories, I've got these props. Do you want to come see this? I used to work on the line. I was an engine driver. I was a signalman. And it's sort of swollen into this huge project, far bigger than we ever originally thought.
And touching on the signalman, actually, Mike, over to you, because there's a great interview that you do with a former signalman in episode 1. What's it been like to kind of catch up with people that remember the Steyning line?
Well, the thing from my point of view, my interest in this has always been the kind of tangible history, as I call it. So it's the meeting of people who were there and have got a story to tell that's not likely to be published in a book, because we tend to find this with people that we talk to. They've got a very personal tale to tell, and you'll never find it in a book that says, a book will say the Steyning line ran here to there. It might come up with a couple of anecdotes, but the actual personal experience of traveling on that is something that you can't you can't recreate that. And to get a feel of that from people who actually were there, it's wonderful. It's amazing. I mean, Bob, the guy we were talking to, as you say, yeah, absolutely. He was the last porter signalman on the Steyning line. A wonderful, absolute character as well. And he was an absolute joy to meet. And I think we've found that. Stephen will probably agree with me that the people we're interviewing and talking have got such a fondness for the railway and for their local community. And that's infectious. That really is. It kind of comes across really well in the interviews, and they're wonderful people to know. We when we release a new episode, we do a kind of local premiere, if you like, for people who've been involved in it. And since we started in a smallish church hall, and we've kind of got bigger venues now, as more and more people are going, well, actually, I've been in episode 1, for example, but I'm really interested in the project. Can I come along and see episode 2? Can I come and see episode 3? So it's kind of snowballed into that, and it's absolutely wonderful to be to be a part of.
Catherine, what's it been like working on the project for yourself? Because obviously the detail that you go into for each episode, and the whole crew gets credit for that. But what's it been like for you, Catherine?
So it's been quite magic, really, because I'm not from West Sussex at all. I don't know the area. I'm a Portsmouth girl, born and bred. So it's been great. I've been going to new places. I've been learning about things. And when we find something that's been hidden, or, you know, that people think is no longer there, it gets quite emotional, because we're like, oh my God, we've discovered this. And it really is like, you know, it's just magic. But the detail in that we go into, it's great. And you can then pass that on to other people, and then they get infected by it. It is just infectious.
It's absolutely the detail. Honestly, you'll have to watch this, people. It's and I imagine that Catherine, that after an episode has gone out on YouTube, you probably have people contact you with even more information, probably that you know from bits that have already aired. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Chris and Luke can attest to this. We've had people that, you know, Shoreham episode has been up for a year now. And we've got people that coming to us and going, oh yeah, we used to live here, we used to see the train go past the back garden, you know, we've got all these pictures. And it's like, that's great, what are we going to do with this? Because like, we've already moved like 2/3 down the line, and it's like, we don't want to lose that. So we're almost building an archive of stuff just for ourselves, but we will eventually do something with it.
Do you know what? So many questions to squeeze in, and I'm going to go back to Chris and Lou, if I may. This is a bit of a difficult question to ask. How many episodes do you envisage it's going to take to get to the end of the steady line?
That is a really easy question, isn't it?
Yes, we still think we'll be doing 6 big YouTube episodes, and probably around 20 to 25 Rewind TV episodes, possibly even more, actually, because the program's getting slightly longer. Stephen, being a sort of devout professional, keeps saying to me, keep it to TV length, people will get bored. But the trouble is, the comments that are coming in, because it's YouTube and people can stop and start watching at their leisure, seem to be loving the detail that we go into. And of course that's circular, because it feeds us wanting to show more and do more. And yet you're quite right, we pass somewhere and then we'll get people will send things in afterwards, and or we'll find out extra things afterwards, but unfortunately by then it's too late to go back and
although sometimes we are doing a siding to things that have passed by. Yeah. So as well as the main episodes, we have on our website things called sidings, which are longer versions of little bits that are in the series that we couldn't really squeeze in. So occasionally we'll revisit something if a story's good enough, and we've got time, we'll pop back and then just tag it on there, because it's kind of, as Catherine said, an archive of the whole story.
And the sidings as well has got extra footage as well, we should add as well, that hasn't been included in the episodes as well, hasn't it?
Yes, because we shoot so much, but we can't squeeze it all into a proper episode. So but we don't want, some of it's really quite good, or it might be this person's last chance to tell us about their memories, because of course we're filming very close now to the age people are getting, where where it's been so long since the railway closed. They are the last generation of people that remember it. So we feel like we don't want to cut people off half the time, and so it's nice to put their full story out on sidings.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll get 2 or 3 minutes of somebody in an episode, but actually there's a 7-minute, 10-minute interview that we're popping onto sidings. And actually we've got enough footage to be working on sidings for about 3 years flat out, just to put all the amazing stuff up there. What you see there, it's a nice little collection, but it's really by far away from what we've actually got sitting on our hard drive waiting to be made into sidings. We just can't edit quick enough, can we, Mike?
No. Mike's very kindly taken over editing sidings, because I get carried away with the main program. So we're diversifying our workforce, as they say.
Very diverse workforce.
Stephen, quick question for you, if I may, because obviously I loved the bit in episode 1 where you got access to I think it was a site that was about to be developed, and you saw the start of the Stenning line. But what has been your favourite part of presenting the show so far from the episodes that have aired on YouTube or and indeed on Rewind?
I think some of the most remarkable things are bits that we've driven past perhaps hundreds of times and never realised they were there. There's one episode that we do in Stenning, and it's quite a well-known fact that the Stenning railway station was bulldozed, and it's now a bypass. It's an A road, the A283, and I think that's quite well known. And the road is where the track was, and you'd think, oh well, there's absolutely nothing there at all. However, I have this lovely phrase of let's have a delve in the bushes. And Chris and Lou and Mike will often send me charging into the brambles, or actually they sometimes go first because the cameraman is ahead of me. And we have discovered so many remarkable things. It might just be a little bit of a wall or a little corner of brickwork, but the magic that the team put together where they get a picture and mix what's there today 60 years later with this incredible picture. And the audience seem to really love this, where we do a now and then, and we merge one to the other. And it is absolutely remarkable. The other thing I wanted to say about this is, because we're taking quite a long time to record this, because we all have other professional commitments.
Yeah.
And the fact that episodes have been released before the end is finished, we're constantly up and down the old line filming, and we get stopped every single day we're filming by people using the line going, oh, it's tracing the rails. Probably the fact that there's a guy in his mid-50s in a waistcoat on this old cycle path probably is the first thing they think, what on earth's going on there? But we're getting stopped all the time, sometimes half a dozen times a day, with people going, I love what you're doing. So it really is reaching a chord. And the biggest surprise for us is the audience, because YouTube allows us to drill down into the detail of who's watching. And I'll let Chris and Lou explain the biggest audience. It's a real surprise.
Yeah, we thought, I mean, when we put the first treatment out, it was, as you would imagine, sort of 60-year-old plus male people watching. And so we never really checked again, expecting that to be our demographic. And we put on a little show in a Churches Conservation Trust church, because they'd very kindly let us film in the church. And a couple of youngsters came, and Stephen made the comment that somebody's grandmother had.
Yeah, I thought, oh, their grandfathers probably brought them along, and they're the lift.
And it turned out they were fans, and so we thought, well, that's odd. So checked the YouTube stats again, and it turns out our core audience are 35-year-old male and female. So it is a sort of young to middle-aged generation that are watching us, people that would never have seen these trains in their youth or seen the rail line. A lot of them are avid walkers, or like knowing what all the things are on the path that they're walking. A lot of them really interested in the railway.
There was this wall that went along, and just up there is the old footbridge. So if you were standing on this platform in 1964 and you drop your football, I found it. There are other clues as well, more serious ones, that we can discover by walking along here. Now, where we've had 60 years of the undergrowth pushing on this wall, you can see here that it really is on its way out. It's tipping right over. On its way out, it's tipping right over, and it's actually shedding a few bricks as well. This is LBC brick, London Brick Company, so possibly one used in the old wall. But another visual clue we can discover is this. Now here, the wall doglegs and goes up with this parapet, and the retaining wall becomes much higher. By looking at the photographs, you can see that the corner pillar of the old footbridge was right here. The footbridge went right up above me and over the double tracks to the other side, giving me further clues that I'm standing right on the platform. And it's beautiful to think, isn't it, that this wall was built in the 1860s. The original curved decorative wall tie is still there all these years later. Now, the thing I want to try and find is further along. Looking back at the old images, we can see that there was a building that was tied into the higher section of the retaining wall. And even though the building's gone, I'd like to see if there are any signs of it on the wall. However, it is rather bramble and nettle ridden, so it might be tricky to get through. I note that producer and the director have sent me into the brambles. Let's see if I can find it.
I was going to say the thing that I find very interesting is when you meet people who are into trains, and they're the sort of standard, you know, stereotypical person who'd be into a train, and they will say, "Oh, my wife wouldn't be interested in that," or "My partner's not interested in that," and then you meet them and their partners go, "Well, I've watched it and I really liked it," because it's not all about this is, you know, locomotive whatever, and it used to run between here and there, and it's going into the socio-political side of things, you know, the environmental side of what's still there on the line. It's going into, you know, like Chris said, the walking aspect of it, the getting out in the fresh air and what sort of things you're going to see. You know, we look at all the bits and pieces that are still left of the railway, yes, but it's also a really nice walk in the countryside.
And I guess it, like Chris already touched on, Mike, it is a race against time, I guess, to interview people, before the kind of the land changes as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we're finding this as things closing and being demolished as we go.
Behind us.
It's almost like the bulldozer is following us. Yeah, I mean, we are
the kiss of death.
We started with the Oakley development site. Well, that's changed beyond all recognition now. Then we get further up the line, we got to the cement works. Well, the cement works, the reason we got in the cement works was because that was all being taken out. So we were pretty much the last people to film in there before the whole site was redeveloped. Stenning bypass, we found bits and pieces in the, you know, as Stephen touched on, we found bits and pieces in the hedgerow of remains of the station. Well, that's being redeveloped as well. So all that's going to go. So it really is almost a race against time, not just from the human side of things, but also because, you know, the landscape changes. Things are put in, you know, there's new roundabouts going in where signal boxes used to be, and nothing will be left after that. So it's really nice that we can sort of kind of, I suppose, melancholy that we can get in there and film it before it's gone forever.
So as I make my way through this undergrowth, it's making me think that this beautiful wall, which is 160 years old, probably hasn't been seen properly for decades. The last passenger who would have leant against this while they were waiting for their train, perhaps reading the newspaper of the day, would have had a good old look at this, but the platform, which is right below me, of course, has long gone. But the thing I'm looking for is the building that would have projected out from here. So I'm actually on the platform. Right up there we can see the cottages, and this wall, this retaining wall, is holding back tons of ground that's been there for so many decades, still doing its job, which is an absolute credit to the craftsman who built this beautiful wall, which is still in this position in perfect condition. Now up here, there's the corner I was looking for. This is the end of the wall in its current position, so I know that right behind me would have been the waiting room on the southbound platform. But for all those decades, people would have sat here waiting for the train. But now it's all gone, just the brambles and the nettles. But it's still wonderful to know that there are a few lurking traces of the old buildings.
If somebody said they want to pull down a beautiful house in the old part of town, made of Victorian timber and glass, the whole of the town would be making a fuss. Now sadly I say the damage is done to thousands of buildings like this in my song. Made to work signals, usher trains past, all up memories of timber and glass. If somebody said they want to pull down a beautiful house in the old part of town, made of Victorian timber and glass, the whole of the town would be making a fuss. If somebody said they want to pull down a beautiful house in the old part of town, made of Victorian timber and glass, the whole of the town would be.
I was just going to say that the time that we're looking at is a kind of sweet spot, because it's around 60 years ago that our line closed. So it's long enough ago to be nostalgic. It's not like it shut in 1880 and no one would remember it. So there are still a good number of people who remember it, but it's not so recent. If it shut in 2010, no one would really be that bothered, because it's too recent. I do think it's exactly the right time to do this, because there's still plenty of archive, there's still plenty of people alive, but it's long enough ago to be intriguing.
Chris and Lou, I suppose I have to ask, how did Rewind TV get involved? And also, for those that watch on YouTube or Rewind, is there any differences to the shows that perhaps people see? Or is it right that Rewind have got kind of a few extra bits here and there? Is that right?
I'll let Chris answer that because he's our editor.
Yes, that's right. I mean, we were fortunate. Well, I think Rewind were fortunate as well that that they got us, but they had a common friend in Stephen being a broadcaster, and reached out through Stephen to sort of say, we'd like to show it on our channel. We think it would be a perfect fit. And so Stephen and I and Lou and we all got together and came to an agreement that they would show it, which was great and has worked very well for us and for Rewind TV. Because their format is slightly different than our format, because YouTube we had free reign to sort of do what we want, whereas Rewind we're limited to very specific timings for very specific slots. Sometimes what we've filmed doesn't fit those slots without either being cut down or having bits added. And I don't like cutting stuff down. Professionally, you're supposed to, but that's the irony of it. Cut is you know what we've always been taught. But again, with stuff like this, you don't want to cut it when there's more rich things you can include. So I always sneak a few extra bits into the Rewind TV versions, so there's even more to see. And also, it makes them slightly different enough that if people have watched it twice, they get a bit of a treat, because there'll be Easter eggs or there'll be extra little bits in that keep them interested. So hopefully we get watched on both platforms that way.
Very much like this one, when the railway line first opened. It must have been a fantastic sight.
So the Rewind pilot that was broadcast on Christmas Day, tell us what was in that.
So that was a rehash of our YouTube episode 1. So what you've watched, Chris. So,
yes.
But a little bit shorter to match their format. And it was a bit of a tester for them and us to see how well received it was. But of course, since that was very successful, we've re-edited now, so that the full length is there. So they get more now when they're watching, which is good.
I suppose. Well, I'm going to ask Stephen, and this is a good question. After the Stenning line, do you think, Stephen, there's another line that you'd like to kind of trace the rails for? Do you think there's another nearby line, or I'm sure you've already talked about it?
We have had so many suggestions from all around the country. Can you do our railway? Can you do our railway?
I bet you have.
When we launched our pilot on our YouTube channel, we were flooded with, oh, I've got this railway, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. We could never do them all. I would love it if we could get commissioned financially so that we could do this as a full-time exploit, because I do really genuinely think there is a great mileage in this format, and it could be repeated all around the country. We would never have enough time in our lives to do them all. So yes, we would love to do a series 2. If you've got any suggestions, do get in touch, but it does require funding, the dirty subject of funding, because we're doing this on a very moderate to meager budget. And of course, if we've got to travel, we're all based down in the South Coast. So if we do, we'd love to do a Yorkshire Railway, for example, because they've got beautiful railways up there, but we have to get there and get back. And all these kind of dull logistics that get in the way. But yes, certainly we've got our eye on a few other projects.
That's a lie. I like that answer. Sorry, Mike, what was you going to say?
I was just going to say that you know, when Richard Beeching cut the thousands and thousands of miles of railway line, it left very rich pickings for potential future series for Tracing the Rails. And I was going to agree with Stephen and say we, you know, if we were to live long enough and have the funding and do this as a full-time day job, we could run Tracing the Rails season, you know, 400, 500 to cover everything.
It would be like Last of the Summer Wine, wouldn't it?
It would be like Last of the Summer Wine, yeah. But yeah, there is an awful lot out there, and I think that's partly what we're also trying to get across with Tracing the Rails. It doesn't matter if you don't live in Sussex, if you don't live in the local area. You know, it's there's always something to explore nearby, near where you are. The railway lines, as I say, up and down the country were closed in the name of economies, most of which have been turned into cycle paths and walkways, and it's good fun. And we I suppose we aim to encourage people to sort of go out and see what you can find.
We get praise for that occasionally as well, Chris, which is nice, because we think we're locally famous and not that well known around the country, but then we'll get surprised by emails or comments saying, thanks to your programme, I've gone out on my local railway because we know what some of the things you've identified are, and we're able to spot them. And so it's really nice to get those kind of email and know that we've encouraged somebody out to do a bit of exploring themselves, and makes you feel a little bit like an archaeologist, which is nice. Not that we'll ever be proper archaeologists, but it just feels great to have that influence.
Hey, you're doing a great job. I'm conscious we've only got about 5 or 6 minutes, so I do apologise. But the next episode, then, can we expect episode 4? Is it going to be July? Is that right, or is it every 3 months? Is that the plan at the minute?
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. The thing with Tracing the Rails is it's not designed to a tight schedule. The production schedule is not tight. We're really hoping to finish filming by the sort of end of the summer, and then as long as it takes us to edit, it will come out first as a preview to the participants and all of the previous participants, and then we'll release it on YouTube after
We'll
that.
have finished filming by the end of July, but it's more realistically likely to be sometime in August.
I bet you get comments all the time going, when's the next episode? When's the next?
Constantly.
We love that.
Yeah. Every time we log on to Facebook, there'll be a comment, when's the next one out? We're waiting.
I mean, as Stephen said, obviously, if we were making this for a TV company or for a commission, we wouldn't keep people waiting like this. But because we're self-funded and we rely on contributions through Patreon, we don't advertise on YouTube, so we don't get money that way because we're trying to keep it pure for people. It means we're having to navigate our day jobs and other commitments to try and do this, but we do love doing it, so there's no plans to stop. It's just that until somebody wants to step forward and be a benefactor for us, we'll have to keep making them at this sort of at the pace of the series, really, which is good. And it's nice that people are waiting for each episode to come out. I think it gives people something to look forward to. So
no, it does. I was going to say, if any of you can also discuss the Patreon as well. What so obviously it's really important for, like you say, to help fund the project. What can people, if they subscribe to Patreon, what can they get?
Aha. Yes, well, we do a mug.
I know, I've seen them. Look at them.
For the lower tiers of contribution, there's mugs, and then all the way up to sort of like people who are making big contributions. We will do things like an executive producer credit, invite them along to. We were very lucky with somebody who rescued us because our drone blew up. And they kindly supplied a new drone, so they've been along to a filming day, and we just try and include people all the time so that they feel part of the project. And I think that's a lot of what the appeal is of helping keep it going and supporting us. Really, is that feeling of inclusion, because they're all rail enthusiasts or film enthusiasts or walking enthusiasts or feel a connection in some way, as we do to them. So it's nice. We've got some very loyal supporters, but we could just do with a few more.
Do you know what? There was a comment that somebody, when you look through the comments, and somebody said, "I've watched 5 hours of Tracing the Rails, and they've got 2.5 miles." But it's perfect television. Honestly, it is absolutely. I think that's a great summary, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's gambling television.
It's called slow. It's called slow TV, and I think there's a great fixation at the moment with social media where everything has to be bang, bang, bang in your face, and everything is so quick fire. This is a very slow, but slow doesn't mean boring. It's just a very relaxing way of looking along and exploring. And we like to almost imagine that the viewer is discovering these things with us as we go. So with me and with Mike, which we're explaining what we're seeing, we're sometimes discovering stuff. We've even posed questions where we're not too sure, and then in subsequent episodes we analyze the answers. So it is almost slightly interactive in so much that the viewers are not only watching it with us, but they're submitting things with us, and the viewers are saying, "Here's my photo," and it appears on the telly. How brilliant is that?
It's honestly, thank you so much for Chris, Lou, Mike, Catherine and Stephen for joining us. All the best, and don't forget to subscribe everyone to Tracing the Rails, and also catch you on Rewind, Freeview channel 92 as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
for having
Chris.
us.
Thank you, Chris, for having us.
Before ending this episode, a few outtakes as we started the Zoom call, a few little bits that you might just find interesting. Evening to both of you. You all right?
Yes, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for coming on. Oh, I love the background. That is ace. I love the background.
We are actually here.
Yes, it's a bit of a cheat because it's not the railway that we're filming, but it looks dramatic.
I know, I love it. Well, before everyone comes in, I just literally I watched episode 1 last night, and I don't want to watch it too quickly because it's like, I know you've got it. I know that it's in like 3-month intervals, and it's like you want to kind of like savor it all. It was really, really good, absolutely brilliant.
Oh, thank you so much. We're really pleased you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're very glad you liked it. It's always a pleasure when someone says that they have enjoyed it, and it's always nice to hear, because that's why we make it, really.
I didn't know. I feel like I've joined a COVID Works Christmas party. I've hijacked it with you all there.
It's just like it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got my Yorkshire tea to get me in the mood.
Oh, I'm going to. I don't think it's not Tracing the Rails mugs as well. Look at
yeah, Tracing the Rails mugs. We actually do use them every day. We haven't just stuck them on for this, but yeah, if we're on for something special,
we've got them flowing out of our ears as Tracing the Rails mugs, to be fair.
So there you go. My thanks to the Tracing the Rails crew. It was an absolute joy to interview them, and I've really enjoyed watching Tracing the Rails. I've started episode 2. It is just as good as episode 1, and it's all there on YouTube. A reminder again, make sure you check them out on Patreon as well. The links to all. The channel, Patreon, everything you need to know will be in the description on this video. So thank you for watching. So make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll be back very soon with another video right here on this channel. Take care. Bye for now.